The Watchmen came out in 2009, directed by Zack Snyder. Now, up until this point, I've only seen parts of the movie on DC Universe. I never saw the whole thing, so I wasn't familiar on what went on in the movie. But back in 2019, I did watch the Watchmen TV series. And I thought the series was pretty good. I thought the first half of Watchmen was solid. But the second half of the series, to me, it kind of fell apart. The first half was kind of like a mystery detective thriller type of thing. It was post-apocalyptic. It was right after the Tulsa Riots massacre in the 1920s. And then it shifted to more of a sci-fi thriller, and I was very kind of confused by it. They did make some of the references to Watchmen, the movie, such as the world ending, Robert Redford as president, or Ozymandias going to the moon, Dr. Manhattan. I didn't really understand it, because I didn't see the movie. Now, as far as Watchmen the movie goes, I remember the trailers for this when I was a kid, back in 2009. I always had interest in seeing the movie, but I couldn't get around to it. Anyway, I went to a DVD store, saw that they had Watchmen. I looked at it, and turns out it's a DC movie. DC comic book logo is on there. So I was like, well, I had to get it. And years later of deliberating, I finally have it, and now I've watched it. The Watchmen, the plot is about a guy named the Comedian. Remember the Watchmen? Well, first we're in 1985. Richard Nixon is somehow elected to a third term as president. The Watchmen has been disbanded. One day, the Comedian, a member of the Watchmen, he gets killed. And this brings Rorschach, another member of the Watchmen, to investigate. In order to find out who did this act, he is going to recruit his fellow members of the Watchmen. That's Dr. Manhattan, Ozymandias, the Night Owl, and Silk Spectre. And they are going to uncover the truth of what happened and find out what did happen. Find out it wasn't Dr. Manhattan that killed the Comedian. That's what the movie earlier was kind of making you think that was the case. But it turns out it was Ozymandias that killed the Comedian. He killed the Comedian because the Comedian knew what Ozymandias was planning. Ozymandias wanted to destroy the world and take credit as the hero. He poisoned all of Dr. Manhattan's assistants with cancer. They all died. So one of the journalists started to blame Dr. Manhattan because he linked a connection. However, the public wasn't really that convinced. So then, Ozymandias, he uses Dr. Manhattan's powers to destroy the world. And this got everybody to blame Dr. Manhattan. So when it comes to Ozymandias, Dr. Manhattan would take the blame, he would take the fall, and Ozymandias would rise as the hero of the day. So that's basically the plot of Watchmen. Watch it, and I will give it a 10 out of 10. The action's pretty good. Like the detective noir feeling that it had. To me, the person that stands out is Jackie Earle Haley as Rorschach. I think he's pretty good. I've seen him as Preacher as Odin Kincannon, but seeing him as Rorschach is completely different. And he has the voice of Christian Bale, but he reminds me of a Sherlock Holmes. He has like this white mask on his face that has the Rorschach symbol on it. And when he gets to a fight with somebody, it's pretty brutal. So he knows what this guy is doing. Do not cross Rorschach. Alright, so now, also what I like about this movie that it does answer the questions that I started asking after watching the TV series. We find out why the Watchmen disbanded, how did Dr. Manhattan destroy the world, and why Ozymandias went to the moon. What happened that led to the TV series. We find out those answers in this film. So, and then we got the TV series. Ozymandias, he goes to the moon. Dr. Manhattan, he goes into hiding because of what happened in the film. And the Watchmen is disbanded. The only person that's still around is Rorschach. Everybody else, they're either dead or just missing. Now, is Watchmen TV series directly connected to the film? No. The Watchmen, the TV series, is more of a sequel to the comics. But since the movie draws elements from the comics, that means the movie and TV series are somewhat loosely connected. But not quite. In the comics, Richard Nixon wasn't president, it was Robert Redford. But here it's Nixon. That's kind of only a slight difference. Also in the movie, Rorschach, he gets killed at the end. Unlike the TV series, he's still alive. Maybe there could be some explanation for it, like Dr. Manhattan bringing him back to life, but who knows. But Zack Snyder, Watchmen, I give it a 10 out of 10. This got mixed reviews. I think that people didn't really quite understand this movie at the time. But with Justice League, Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, people might be more understanding today of Zack Snyder's mindset when doing a superhero movie. This movie was released. Now, when people like it, they might like Zack Snyder's approach, but they might blame Warner Brothers for interfering. But whatever. Watchmen, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. That has been my review on the film.